I am Annabelle, 36 years old, and nothing prepared me for the day my own mother would betray my 14-year-old daughter Lily. We were always close, just the two of us against the world, since I raised her alone. The toxic relationship with my controlling parents was something I thought I could manage with minimal contact. But that day at the mall changed everything, when my mother slipped an expensive gold necklace into Lily's bag, and my father told police he witnessed her stealing it. Before I continue this painful story, let me know where you are watching from in the comments, and if you have ever experienced family betrayal, hit that subscribe button as we explore how to protect the ones we truly love. My childhood was a masterclass in controlling behavior courtesy of my mother Barbara. Our suburban house with its perfect lawn and coordinated furniture was less a home and more a showcase of her obsession with appearances. Every aspect of our lives was micromanaged, from the clothes we wore to the words we spoke in public. My father Thomas, a successful accountant, enabled her behavior with his silence and compliance. He would simply adjust his glasses, clear his throat, and retreat behind his newspaper whenever conflict arose. Growing up as their only child meant bearing the full weight of their expectations. I was enrolled in ballet, piano, and etiquette classes before I could even form complete sentences. Mother supervised my homework nightly, tearing up pages if my handwriting wasn't perfect. Father would just sigh and say, "Listen to your mother, Annabelle. She knows best." Even my friendships were carefully curated, with only children from acceptable families permitted to visit our home. By high school, I had perfected the art of appearing perfect while harboring secret rebellions. I would change outfits after leaving for school and wash off mother's approved makeup in the bathroom. Small acts of defiance were my only taste of freedom. When I got accepted to college, I chose 3 states away, much to mother's barely concealed fury. My pregnancy with Lily wasn't planned. I was 22 in my final year of college, dating a guy named Jack, who I thought was different from the entitled boys mother approved of. When the pregnancy test showed positive, Jack vanished within a week. I still remember calling my parents with shaking hands, hoping against hope for support. Instead, Mother froze the line with her icy silence before saying, "You will come home immediately, and we will handle this discreetly." She meant abortion or adoption, anything to erase this blemish on the family image. When I refused, Father got on the phone with his standard, "Your mother knows best, Annabelle." That was the day I decided to cut them off almost completely. I finished my degree with a newborn, taking online classes and working nights while my roommate watched Lily. We struggled financially for years, but the freedom from mother's control was worth every ramen dinner and secondhand outfit. For 12 years, our contact was limited to brief, strained holiday calls and the occasional birthday card with checks I rarely cashed. Lily knew her grandparents existed, but understood they weren't part of our lives. We built our own traditions, our tiny apartment filled with more genuine laughter than my childhood mansion ever held. Then, Mother had a health scare. A minor stroke that Father dramatically portrayed as near fatal. Guilt and some lingering hope for resolution pulled me back into their orbit. I agreed to occasional family dinners, always on neutral ground, like restaurants, where Mother's ability to control the environment was limited. From the first dinner, Mother fixated on Lily. My beautiful, creative daughter, with her purple-tipped hair, vintage clothes, and confident smile, was everything I hadn't been allowed to be. Mother would purse her lips, eyes narrowing, as she assessed Lily like a problematic painting hanging crooked in her perfect living room. "Young ladies don't slouch, Annabelle. You should correct her posture," she would say, speaking about Lily as if she wasn't there, or, "That hair color will limit her opportunities." I know an excellent salon that could fix it. Father would nod along occasionally, adding, "Your grandmother has excellent taste, Lily. You should listen to her." Lily handled it with remarkable grace, smiling politely, while squeezing my hand under the table in our secret signal that meant I need chocolate ice cream therapy after this. We would laugh about Mother's outdated views on our drive home, but I noticed how Lily would check her appearance in the mirror more frequently after these visits. As these family gatherings increased in frequency, tension grew. Mother began bringing designer clothes in Lily's size, to dinners ignoring the fact they were nothing like what my daughter would ever wear. She would comment on Lily's grades, suggesting tutors despite my daughter being an honor student. Father backed every suggestion with his wallet offering to pay for these unwanted improvements. What truly disturbed me was catching Mother staring at Lily and me when we would laugh together or share inside jokes. There was something beyond disapproval in her eyes. It took me time to recognize it as jealousy, emotion I had never associated with my seemingly perfect mother. She was jealous of the relationship I had built with my daughter, one based on trust and mutual respect rather than control and fear. I should have recognized the warning signs. I should have protected Lily better. But some small wounded part of me still longed for parental approval, still hoped for reconciliation. That misplaced hope would cost my daughter dearly. The invitation seemed innocent enough. Mother called on a Wednesday, her voice unusually warm, as she suggested a family shopping trip to celebrate Lily's upcoming 15th birthday, though she was still 14. "I want to spoil my only granddaughter," she said. "Let me do this, Annabelle." Against my better judgment, I agreed. Lily was less enthusiastic, but willing to try for my sake. "You always say people can change, Mom," she reminded me. "Maybe Grandma is finally trying." That Saturday morning, we met at Harrington Plaza, an upscale shopping center where Mother had a personal relationship with several boutique owners. She greeted Lily with air kisses and presented her with a designer handbag as a pre-birthday gift. Its genuine leather, she emphasized, looking pointedly at Lily's beloved thrift store canvas bag. Father hovered nearby, smiling benignly and offering his credit card at every turn. "For once, buy whatever catches your eye, Annabelle," he encouraged. My treat? The sudden generosity felt foreign after years of financial independence. Our first stop was Elite's, a boutique so exclusive that the prices weren't displayed on any items. Mother immediately began selecting outfits for Lily clothes that might have suited a corporate junior executive but were wildly inappropriate for a creative 14-year-old who preferred vintage band shirts and colorful jeans. Lily caught my eye as Mother piled garments into a saleswoman's arms. I mouthed, "Just try them," and she nodded reluctantly. The fitting room was larger than my first apartment, with plush seating and a champagne service for adults. Lily emerged in a navy blue blazer and pleated skirt combination that made her look like she was auditioning for a private school commercial. Mother clapped her hands in delight. "Now you look like a proper young lady," she exclaimed. "Doesn't she look appropriate now, Thomas?" Father nodded approvingly. "Very suitable. Very proper." I watched Lily's shoulders tense, her smile becoming fixed. She had already tried on 3 outfits, each one drawing similar comments about proper appearance and suitable attire. The unspoken comparison to her normal wardrobe hung in the air. My phone rang suddenly, my assistant calling about an urgent work matter that couldn't wait. "It'll just be 5 minutes," I promised, stepping outside the boutique for better reception. The call took longer than expected, nearly 15 minutes of troubleshooting a client crisis. When I returned, Mother was guiding Lily toward the jewelry counter while Father examined his watch with unusual intensity. "I found the perfect accessory for her new outfits," Mother announced. pointing to a display of delicate gold necklaces. The salesperson was already removing one from the case, a simple chain with a small diamond pendant. "I don't really wear much jewelry," Grandma Lily said softly. "It's very pretty, but not really my style." Mother ignored her, holding the necklace against Lily's neck. "You simply haven't had quality pieces before, dear. This would elevate even those common clothes you insist on wearing." I noticed the way Lily's jaw tightened, a sign she was reaching her limit for condescension. I intervened, suggesting we look at some stores more aligned with Lily's taste. Mother frowned, but replaced the necklace in its display. As we prepared to leave Elite's, a security guard approached our group. His face was professionally neutral, but his stance was confrontational. "Excuse me, but I need to check your bags," he said, looking directly at Lily. "Is there a problem?" I asked, stepping between them instinctively. The store manager, a woman in her 50s, with an immaculate suit, appeared beside the guard. "We have reason to believe your daughter has taken something without paying," she explained. Her voice pitched low, but carrying enough for nearby shoppers to turn and stare. "That's ridiculous," I protested. "My daughter doesn't steal." Lily looked bewildered, clutching her new designer bag and her old canvas tote. "I didn't take anything," she insisted. "Please open your bags, miss," the guard said firmly. With trembling hands, Lily opened both bags. From the canvas tote, the guard extracted a small velvet jewelry box. Inside was the exact gold necklace with the diamond pendant that Mother had been showing her minutes earlier. The room seemed to tilt sideways. Lily gasped, her face draining of color. "That wasn't me," she whispered. "I didn't put that there." The manager crossed her arms. "The necklace is worth $3,000. We will be pressing charges." "There's been a mistake," I argued desperately. "She was with her grandmother the whole time. She wouldn't do this." Actually, a voice interjected, and I turned to see my father stepping forward with an expression of grave disappointment. I saw her slip it into her bag when no one was looking. I was hoping Shed put it back, but he shook his head sadly. "I'm sorry, Annabelle, but the girl needs discipline." My mother placed a hand on my arm, her face a mask of concern that didn't reach her eyes. "Perhaps this is for the best, Annabelle. A lesson about consequences before things escalate further." The security guard was already radioing for police. Lily's eyes locked with mine, filled with confusion and betrayal. "Mom, I didn't, I swear," she pleaded, her voice breaking. In that moment, looking between my daughter's honest fear and my mother's calculated expression, I knew with absolute certainty what had happened. But the realization came too late. Everything happened with surreal efficiency. 2 police officers arrived within minutes, their expressions professionally detached as the store manager explained the situation. I watched in horror as they took statements from the security guard, the saleswoman, and most damningly my father, who calmly repeated his claim that had witnessed Lily take the necklace. "Mom, please," Lily begged as an officer began reading her rights. The terror in her eyes as they took her fingerprints right there in the store office will haunt me forever. I tried to approach her, but my father held me back with surprising strength. "Let the authorities handle this, Annabelle," he insisted. "She's a minor. They won't be harsh if it's her first offense." My mother stood nearby, her posture perfect as always, a concerned frown carefully arranged on her face. She dabbed at non-existent tears with an embroidered handkerchief. "This is so difficult, but sometimes love means allowing consequences," she murmured to the female officer, who nodded sympathetically. When they led Lily out, her wrists cuffed in front of her, something in me broke. My child, my 14-year-old daughter, who still slept with the stuffed rabbit Shed, had since infancy, was being treated like a criminal. And my own parents, had orchestrated it. Well, follow you to the station, my mother announced, as if we were discussing a change in dinner plans. The officers explained I could meet them there, but as Lily was a minor accused of a felony-level theft, there would be procedures to follow. I need to go with her now, I insisted, moving toward the police car, where Lily sat in the backseat, shoulders hunched and head down. My father blocked my path again. Annabelle, you're too emotional. Well, drive you. They won't let you ride with her anyway. I felt a moment of disorientation, the familiar fog of my parents' control settling over me. Then I saw Lily look up, her tear-streaked face visible through the car window, and clarity returned like a thunderclap. "Don't touch me," I hissed at my father, jerking away from his restraining hand. "I know what you've done, both of you." My mother stepped closer, her voice dropping to the warning tone that had terrorized my childhood. "Annabelle, you're making a scene. Think about appearances." "I don't give a damn about appearances," I snapped loud enough for the lingering shoppers to hear. "My daughter's welfare is all that matters, and I will see you both later." I drove to the police station with white-knuckled focus hands, shaking on the steering wheel. The Juvenile Processing Center was a maze of bureaucracy and indifference. I filled out forms, answered questions, and waited in hard plastic chairs under fluorescent lights that made everyone look sickly. 3 agonizing hours passed before they allowed me to see Lily. They led me to a small room where my daughter sat alone. Her makeup smeared from crying, the confident teenager id dropped off at the mall, replaced by a frightened child. She flew into my arms the moment I entered. "Mom, I didn't take it. I swear I didn't." She sobbed against my shoulder. "Grandma was showing me jewelry, but I never touched that necklace." "Why would Grandpa lie?" "I believe you," I whispered fiercely, holding her tight. "I know you didn't do this. We are going to fix it." The juvenile detective assigned to the case was skeptical. He had my father's statement, the store manager's complaint, and the physical evidence of the necklace found in Lily's possession. In his experience, he explained, with practiced patients, family members rarely gave false statements against their own grandchildren. "Did you check for fingerprints on the box or necklace?" I demanded. The detective looked uncomfortable. "The merchandise has been handled by store staff, your mother, during shopping, and potentially others. Fingerprints would be inconclusive at best." I thought of the security cameras id noticed in the high-end boutique. What about video footage? "We can request that as part of the investigation," he conceded. "But with an eyewitness statement from a family member, especially one with no apparent motive to lie, this case is fairly straightforward." I wanted to scream that he didn't know my mother didn't understand the lengths she'd go to exert control. Instead, I focused on getting Lily released into my custody. As it was her first alleged offense, and she had no record, they agreed to release her on recognizance with a juvenile court date set for the following month. The drive home was silent. Lily stared out the window, physically present but emotionally miles away. When we stopped at a red light, I reached for her hand. She flinched before realizing it was me. "I'm sorry," she whispered, and the apology broke my heart because she had nothing to apologize for. At home, the emotional dam broke. Lily collapsed on our couch, her body shaking with sobs. Between gasping breaths, she poured out her confusion and hurt. "Why do they hate me so much? What did I do wrong?" she cried. "Grandma was right there when I was looking at the jewelry. I never even touched that necklace. And Grandpa, he just stood there and lied about me like it was nothing." I held her, rocking slightly, as I'd done when she was small. "They don't hate you, sweetie. This isn't about you at all." "Then why?" she demanded, pulling back to search my face. "Why would they do this?" I struggled to find words that would make sense of something so senseless. Your grandmother has always needed to control everything and everyone around her. And when she can't, she sometimes does extreme things. But getting me arrested, Lily looked incredulous. That's not controlling, that's cruel. I couldn't argue with her assessment. As Lily finally fell into exhausted sleep on the couch, I covered her with a blanket and retreated to the kitchen, my mind racing with next steps. One thing was absolutely clear: I would never allow my parents near my daughter again. By sunrise, I had a plan. While Lily slept emotionally drained from her ordeal, I made 3 important calls. The first was to my boss, explaining I needed emergency family leave. The second was to Jessica, my college roommate, who had become a criminal defense attorney. The third was to the manager of Elites, requesting an urgent meeting regarding their security footage. I left a note for Lily explaining I'd be back soon and asking her to rest. The boutique wasn't open yet when I arrived, but the manager, Vivian Porter, met me at the service entrance. Her professional demeanor had softened somewhat after I explained the situation in my late-night voicemail. "I've pulled the footage from yesterday," she said, leading me to a small office in the back. "Normally we'd only release this to police with a formal request, but am troubled by what you described. If there's been a misunderstanding, we have no interest in prosecuting an innocent child." The security system was state-of-the-art, with multiple camera angles covering every corner of the boutique. Vivian efficiently located the timestamp corresponding to our visit and began playing the footage. I watched our family enter the store, saw Lily trying on the clothes Mother had selected, and then located myself, stepping outside to take the phone call. What happened next made my blood run cold. While Lily was in the changing room trying on the final outfit, the cameras clearly showed my mother removing the gold necklace from the display when the saleswoman turned away. With practiced sleight of hand, she slipped the velvet box into Lily's canvas tote, which had been left on a chair near the fitting rooms. My father stood nearby, strategically positioned to block the view from the sales counter. "Can I get a copy of this?" I asked, my voice steady, despite the rage building inside me. Vivian nodded, her expression grim. "I'll prepare a USB drive, and I'll call our security team to let them know we'll be withdrawing the complaint." Jessica met me at her office, reviewing the footage with professional detachment. "This is clear evidence of tampering," she confirmed. "But we need to understand why your father gave a false statement to police. Without addressing that there's still a complication, I need to confront him alone," I decided. My mother's manipulation had always been more effective with an audience. Father was more likely to crack if isolated. I located him at his country club, where he spent every Sunday morning regardless of family crisis. He was just finishing his round of golf when I approached, deliberately catching him away from his usual partners. "Annabelle," he began, clearly surprised to see me. "Your mother and I were just discussing." I showed him my phone, with a still image from the security footage. Mother planting the necklace in Lily's bag. His face went slack with shock, not at the action I realized, but at being caught. "Why?" I demanded, keeping my voice low but intense. "Why would you lie to police about your own granddaughter?" He removed his golf cap, running a hand through his thinning hair. "It's complicated, Annabelle. Your mother, she thought, the girl needed discipline, structure. She got my 14-year-old daughter arrested and traumatized," I hissed. "That isn't discipline, it's abuse." Father looked around, nervously concerned about who might overhear. "You don't understand. Your mother has always known best how to raise children properly. You turned out well, didn't you?" The delusion in his statement was so profound I almost laughed. "Did I? I ran away from you both and cut contact for over a decade. Is that your definition of success?" You had a momentary rebellion, he conceded, but you've become responsible. Your mother worries that without proper guidance, Lily will make more serious mistakes than you did. Like what? Having a personality of her own? Standing up for herself. Father shifted uncomfortably. Barbara keeps a journal. She writes about her concerns. The girl reminds her too much of you at that age before wed properly. Her line of thought trailed off as he realized what he was revealing. Before you'd properly, what Dad broken me, controlled me. His eyes slid away from mine. You're being dramatic. Your mother only wants what's best. I need to see that journal, I said suddenly. And you need to recant your statement to the police. He looked genuinely alarmed. I can't do that. Barbara would. Would, what I challenged. What are you so afraid of? His shoulders slumped, decades of compliance weighing him down. She has ways of making life very difficult when crossed. For the first time, I felt a flicker of pity for my father, trapped in my mother's web of control for over 40 years. But my daughter came first. You'll recant your statement, I said firmly. Or I'll take that security footage to the police myself and file charges against both of you for filing a false report and evidence tampering. Our standoff ended with a compromise. Father would help me access Mother's journal and reconsider his position on the police statement. It wasn't enough, but it was a start. That evening, while Mother was at her weekly bridge game, Father let me into their house. The journal was hidden predictably in Mother's vanity drawer, locked but easily opened with the hairpin trick I'd learned as a teenager wanting to read my confiscated letters. The entries were more disturbing than I'd imagined. Pages dedicated to critiquing Lily's appearance, behavior, and perceived defiance. Detailed plans for correcting her development through a series of lessons designed to break her willful nature. The shoplifting setup had been planned for weeks, with Mother believing an arrest would make Lily more malleable to her influence afterward. Most chilling were the passages comparing Lily to me, noting all the ways my daughter was becoming independent faster than I had, and Mother's determination to intervene before she became another disappointing woman who defies family expectations. I photographed the relevant pages, my hands steady, despite my internal turmoil. Father watched from the doorway, his expression shifting between shame and ingrained loyalty to Mother. Barbara had similar journals about you, he admitted quietly. She always said it was her duty to mold you properly. When you got pregnant and refused to come home, she burned them all in the fireplace. Sat there for hours watching them turn to ash. Did you ever stand up for me? I asked, suddenly needing to know, even once. His silence was answer enough. As I prepared to leave with my evidence, I laid out the reality to my father. I'm going to protect Lily from Mother, no matter what. Either you help make this right, or you'll lose both of us forever. It's your choice. For the first time in my memory, my father looked at me as if seeing me clearly. What do you need me to do? He asked. I spent the next day gathering my courage and finalizing my strategy with Jessica. Lily stayed home from school, the trauma of her arrest still too fresh. We talked openly about what had happened, and I showed her the security footage, wanting her to see clear proof of her innocence. It's almost worse knowing it was planned, she said, hugging her knees to her chest. At least if she'd done it impulsively, I could maybe understand better. 3 days after the incident, I arranged to meet my parents at their house. Father had confirmed Mother would be there, though he hadn't told her I was coming, or why. Jessica waited in her car down the street, ready to provide legal support if needed. My mother opened the door with her practiced social smile, which faltered when she saw my expression. Annabelle? She recovered quickly. This is unexpected. We were so worried after that dreadful business at the mall. How is Lily coping with her mistake? I stepped past her into the foyer, not bothering to remove my shoes, despite the pristine white carpet she treasured. Father hovered in the living room entrance, his face pale and drawn. "We need to talk," I said simply. "All of us. Now." Mother glanced at Father, noting his unusual silence. Her eyes narrowed slightly. "Thomas, would you bring some tea? I'm sure Annabelle could use something soothing after the stress she's been under." "No tea," I said. "No deflections, no manipulation. We're going to sit down and we're going to address what you did to my daughter." "I don't know what you're talking about," Mother said, her voice cooling several degrees. "If this is about supporting Lily's rehabilitation after her shoplifting, of course we're here to help, though I do think consequences are important for—" "Stop," I interrupted, pulling out my phone. "The evidence is right here. Security footage showing you planting the necklace in Lily's bag." I played the video, watching Mother's face as her actions were displayed in high-definition clarity. She didn't flinch, didn't show surprise, only calculation as she assessed this new development. "That proves nothing," she said when the video ended. "I was simply returning the necklace she had asked me to hold earlier. The manager at Elite says differently, and the police now have this footage." Father stepped forward then. "Barbara, it's over. They have the evidence." Mother turned on him with sudden venom. "What have you done, Thomas? What have you told her?" "I showed her your journal too, Father," said his voice quiet, but steadier than I'd ever heard it. "The entries about Lily, about your plans." "You went through my private things," Mother hissed. Genuine emotion, finally breaking through her composed facade. "You had no right. You had my daughter arrested for something you did," I countered. "You traumatized a 14-year-old child to satisfy your need for control. What rights do you think you have left?" Mother drew herself up, smoothing invisible wrinkles from her immaculate slacks. "You don't understand what I'm trying to prevent. That girl is headstrong, undisciplined. She's going down the same path you did, Annabelle. Only worse because you indulge her every whim. Someone needs to provide proper structure." "Structure," I echoed incredulously. "You call false accusations and criminal charges structure." "Sometimes difficult measures are necessary," she insisted. "You were becoming the same way at her age. If we'd been firmer, then perhaps you wouldn't have thrown away your potential on an illegitimate pregnancy." The word illegitimate ignited something primal in me. I stepped closer to my mother, close enough to see the tiny lines of aging shed tried to erase with expensive creams and treatments. "Listen carefully," I said, my voice dangerously soft. "Lily is the best thing that ever happened to me. She is kind, creative, and strong in ways you can never understand because you've spent your life controlling rather than connecting. What you did wasn't structure or discipline. It was cruel, calculating abuse, and it ends today." Mother's mouth tightened into a thin line. "You always were prone to dramatics. This is exactly why." I didn't let her finish. "Harris, what's going to happen? You're both going to the police station tomorrow to recant your statements. You're going to admit you planted the necklace and lied about witnessing theft. If you refuse, I'll file charges against you myself for evidence tampering, filing a false report, and child endangerment." "You wouldn't dare," Mother whispered, but there was uncertainty in her eyes. "Try me," I answered. "For Lily, I would burn your perfect world to the ground and not feel a moment's regret." Father cleared his throat. "Barbara, she has the evidence. And she's right. What we did, the journal entries, it's indefensible." Mother turned on him with shocking speed, slapping him hard across the face. 40 years, she screamed, her carefully maintained composure shattering completely. 40 years, I've managed this family, made all the hard decisions while you just nodded and went along. And now you betray me for this disappointment, and her delinquent daughter. Father touched his reddening cheek, looking at Mother as if seeing a stranger. The girl didn't do anything wrong, Barbara. We did. I did, by never standing up to you. Mother looked between us, her breathing rapid, her perfect hairdo coming slightly undone. This is temporary insanity, she declared. You'll both come to your senses and realize I was only doing what was necessary. I took out the second piece of evidence. Id brought a sealed letter from Jessica, outlining the potential legal consequences if charges were pursued. I placed it on the pristine coffee table. Tomorrow, 9 a.m., police station. Both of you, I stated. This isn't negotiable. As I turned to leave, Mother called after me, her voice shifting to the wounded tone that had manipulated me countless times before. Annabelle, we're your parents. After everything we've done for you, you would turn on us like this. I paused at the door. That's the difference between us, Mother. I would never do to Lily what you've done to me. And that's why she'll never need to escape from me the way I escaped from you. True to his word, Father arrived at the police station the next morning at 9, sharp. Mother came separately, 30 minutes late, her expression glacial. Detective Sanderson, who had been skeptical of my claims, initially reviewed the security footage and witness statements with growing concern. You understand that filing a false police report is a serious offense, he asked my parents. Father nodded, shoulders slumped. I understand. I want to formally recant my statement. I did not see my granddaughter take the necklace. Mother was less cooperative. There has clearly been a misunderstanding, she said stiffly. Perhaps in the confusion of the moment the necklace was misplaced. Mrs. Harper, the detective said firmly, the footage clearly shows you placing the item in your granddaughter's bag. There is no confusion to claim. After 3 hours of statements and paperwork, it was official. The charges against Lily were dropped with the record sealed due to her minor status. No charges were filed against my parents, a decision I had agreed to, not for their sake, but to spare Lily the additional trauma of a prolonged legal process. Outside the station, Mother attempted one final manipulation. I hope you're satisfied, Annabelle, she said. You've destroyed this family over a simple disciplinary measure. You did that yourself, I replied. We're done here. The following weeks brought a cascade of family fallout. Mother's sister, my Aunt Patricia, called demanding an explanation for why Id forced my parents to humiliate themselves at the police station. The story Mother had told portrayed her as the victim of my ungrateful vindictiveness. Other relatives took sides, most following the familiar pattern of enabling Mother's version of reality. But a few surprised me. My cousin Sophia, who had always been Mother's exemplar of proper feminine behavior, reached out to offer support. Aunt Barbara did similar things to me when I was younger, she confessed during a coffee meeting. Nothing as extreme as an arrest, but she once told my college boyfriend I had a mental illness because she didn't approve of him. It ended our relationship. The most significant development came 2 weeks after the confrontation. Father called his voice hesitant, but determined. I've moved out, he said simply. I'm staying at the residence inn for now. For divorce, I asked, genuinely shocked. My parents' marriage had seemed as immutable as a natural law. I don't know yet, he admitted. But after 40 years, I finally realized I don't recognize the person I've become by following her lead in everything. When I think about what we did to Lily, his voice cracked. I can't forgive myself. I doubt you or Lily ever will either. While I wasn't ready to offer easy absolution, His recognition of the harm done was meaningful. We arranged a tentative lunch, just the two of us, for the following week. Mother predictably escalated her attempts at control. She began calling relatives, friends, even my workplace, spreading various versions of events that cast her as the concerned grandmother and me as the unstable daughter preventing family reconciliation. When direct approaches failed, she attempted to use intermediaries. My childhood piano teacher appeared at my door, claiming she was in the neighborhood. My mother's bridge partner called about a charity function, casually mentioning how forgiving Barbara would be if I came to my senses. Through it all, I maintained firm boundaries focused on helping Lily process her trauma. We started seeing Dr. Rachel Adams, a family therapist specializing in toxic family dynamics. In one particularly powerful session, Lily articulated how the arrest had affected her. "I keep checking my bag before leaving stores," she admitted. "Sometimes 2 or 3 times. And I have nightmares about being in that holding cell with everyone believing I did something terrible." Dr. Adams helped her develop coping strategies for the anxiety and hypervigilance. Slowly, Lily began to regain her confidence and trust. 3 weeks after the police station confrontation, an unexpected perspective emerged. My maternal grandmother, Eleanor, called from her retirement community in Florida. At 86, she rarely involved herself in family conflicts, but the news had reached her through the family grapevine. "Your mother was raised exactly the way she tried to raise you," Eleanor said, her voice fragile, but her mind still sharp. "My husband, your grandfather, was a controlling man who believed children were to be shaped rather than nurtured. Barbara was the focus of his attention more than her brothers. By 15, she had developed that perfect exterior, but inside she was angry, always angry." "Did you try to stop it?" I asked, echoing the question. "I asked my father." A long pause followed. "Not enough," she finally answered. "I made the same mistake your father did. Compliance seemed easier than confrontation. By the time I recognized the damage, Barbara was already convinced that control was love." This generational perspective didn't excuse my mother's actions, but provided context that helped me process my own childhood. I began to see the cycle more clearly. My grandmother controlled by my grandfather, my mother controlled in turn, then attempting to extend that control to me, and now to Lily. But cycles can be broken. After our lunch, where father had tearfully apologized without excuses, I made a decision. I invited him to join one of our therapy sessions, an invitation he accepted with evident surprise and gratitude. In that session, Lily asked him directly, "Why did you lie about me, Grandpa? Did you hate me that much?" Father removed his glasses, wiping them compulsively, as he always did when uncomfortable. "No, Lily, I never hated you. I was a coward. For 40 years I let your grandmother make all the decisions because it was easier than standing up to her. When she said you needed this lesson, I believed her because I've always believed her. It was wrong. I was wrong, and ill regret it for the rest of my life." His honesty, though painful, was the beginning of a possible new relationship, not forgiveness yet, but understanding. Mother, meanwhile, refused all invitations to therapy or mediated conversations. When her attempts to regain control through others failed, she retreated into icy silence, the ultimate punishment in her arsenal. For the first time in my life, that silence felt like freedom rather than rejection. 3 months after the incident at the mall, Lily celebrated her 15th birthday with a small party at our favorite park. Her friends surrounded her, the spring sunshine warming their faces as they shared cake and laughter. Watching her blow out the candles, I saw glimpses of the confident girl she'd been before the arrest returning. The trauma wasn't gone. The hypervigilance still appeared in stressful situations, but she was healing. My own healing journey had been more complex. Dr. Adams helped me recognize how my mother's controlling behavior had shaped my own parenting in both positive and negative ways. I'd been determined to give Lily the freedom I'd never had, but sometimes that translated to hesitation in setting necessary boundaries. Our family therapy sessions now included Father regularly. Head found an apartment of his own, a small one-bedroom, that Mother disdainfully referred to as his midlife crisis hovel when speaking to relatives. He was seeing his own therapist and slowly discovering interests and opinions independent of Mother's influence. The most profound change came during a therapy session in April, when Dr. Adams asked us each to share something we'd learned from this experience. I learned that standing up for yourself doesn't have to mean standing alone, Lily said, reaching for my hand. Mom was right there with me the whole time, believing me when no one else did. I learned that it's never too late to choose differently, Father said, his voice stronger than it had been in my childhood memories. I've missed so much by being passive. I don't want to miss anymore. When my turn came, I took a deep breath. I learned that the family patterns we grow up with don't have to be our destiny. We can choose to break the cycle. Father had been working diligently to rebuild his relationship with Lily. He attended her school art show, genuinely engaging with her creative work, without Mother's filtering influence. He asked questions about her interests, and actually listened to the answers. Small steps, but meaningful ones. Mother remained the wild card in our family equation. Her initial icy silence had evolved into sporadic attempts at reconciliation on her terms. She sent expensive gifts to Lily, with cards signed "Grandmother, who loves you despite everything." I returned them all. 5 months after the mall incident, Mother appeared unannounced at our door. She'd lost weight, her designer clothes hanging slightly loose on her frame. For once, her perfect appearance showed cracks, imperfect makeup, a slight tremor in her hands. "I need to see my granddaughter," she demanded, but the imperial tone was undermined by an unfamiliar uncertainty. "That's not going to happen without significant changes," I replied, not inviting her in. "Lily doesn't feel safe around you, and I don't trust you." "This ridiculous estrangement has gone on long enough," she insisted. "Thomas has lost his mind living in that depressing apartment and seeing that therapist who fills his head with nonsense about boundaries and self-determination." Despite her dismissive words, I heard something new in her voice: fear. For perhaps the first time in her adult life, my mother was losing control of her perfectly arranged world, and it terrified her. "Barbara," I said deliberately, using her name rather than Mother, "the only way forward is for you to acknowledge what you did and why it was wrong. Not just the incident at the mall, but the lifetime of controlling behavior that led to it." She straightened her shoulders, an automatic defense mechanism. "I'm your mother. I deserve respect." "Respect is earned," I replied simply. "When you're ready to talk honestly about your behavior and its impact, we can consider a carefully supervised visit. Until then, this conversation is over." As I closed the door, I heard something I never expected: my mother sobbing openly on our front porch. I hesitated, the daughterly instinct to comfort her, warring with the mother bear's need to protect my child. I watched through the peephole as she finally composed herself and walked to her car, moving like someone much older than her 62 years. It wasn't satisfaction I felt at her distress, but a complex mixture of grief for what our relationship could have been, and determination to protect the healthier bonds I'd built with Lily. 2 weeks later, Father called with surprising news. "Your mother has agreed to start therapy. Her own sessions, not with us. I don't know if it will help, but it's something." It was a small step, possibly motivated more by her desire to regain access to the family than by genuine insight. but it was movement in a direction it never thought possible. Over the following months, our new family configuration stabilized. Father became a regular presence in our lives, joining us for Sunday dinners and occasionally babysitting when I had late work meetings, something Head never done during my childhood. He and Lily developed their own rituals, a shared interest in crossword puzzles debates about classic films Head introduced her to. Mother remained largely on the periphery, though her therapist eventually reached out to Dr. Adams about the possibility of a carefully structured family session. We agreed to a single meeting on neutral ground with clear boundaries established beforehand. That session was neither a miracle reconciliation nor a complete disaster. Mother struggled visibly with her ingrained patterns, veering between genuine attempts at listening and reverting to control tactics when uncomfortable emotions arose. But she managed with her therapist's guidance to say 5 words I'd never heard from her before. I was wrong. I'm sorry. The words came stiffly, without the emotional insight that would make them truly healing, but they were a crack in the fortress of perfection Shed built around herself. As summer transitioned to fall, Lily flourished. The nightmares became less frequent, her confidence in public spaces returned, and her artistic talents bloomed with new emotional depth. One painting in particular, a girl emerging from a shattered glass cage, captured her journey so powerfully that her art teacher entered it in a citywide competition where it won first place. Standing beside my daughter at the awards ceremony, I felt a profound sense of gratitude. Despite the trauma, despite the toxic family patterns, WED forged something stronger together. The bond between us, built on trust and respect rather than control and fear, had withstood its greatest test. That evening, as we celebrated her award at her favorite restaurant, Lily asked a question that showed how far she'd come. Mom, do you think Grandma can ever really change? Like deep down change? I considered carefully before answering. People can change when they truly want to, when they do the hard work of facing themselves honestly. Your grandfather is changing because he wants a relationship with us more than he wants to cling to old patterns. Your grandmother, her desire for control runs deeper. Change will be harder for her, maybe impossible. But we're not responsible for her choices, only our own. Lily nodded, absorbing this. Then she smiled, a flash of her old mischievous self. I'm just glad we have proof I didn't steal that necklace. Can you imagine if there hadn't been cameras? I reached across the table, squeezing her hand. I'd have believed you without a single frame of footage. Always. That truth, the unconditional trust between us, was the foundation WED rebuilt upon. The journey hadn't been easy, and there would surely be challenges ahead. But WED broken the cycle of control that had damaged 3 generations of our family. Whatever came next, WED face it together on our own terms. If you've ever had to protect someone you love from toxic family members or found yourself breaking generational patterns, share your experience in the comments below. Our stories connect us and help others feel less alone in their struggles. Hit that subscribe button if you'd like to hear more stories of family healing and boundary setting. And remember, sometimes the family we choose is more important than the family we're born into. Thank you for listening to my story, and may you find the courage to write your own healthier endings.